Greetings, I am Tom Earl. On this week's episode, we talk about an intention greater than yourself with Sudduf Wyne. Check it out. Woo! Greetings, I am Tom Earl, and this is my year of depth. We know you could be anywhere, so the fact that you are here today sharing your greatest gifts, your time and energy, means the world to me. I hope you know that in this moment, you are valued, you are loved, and you are appreciated just as you are. As you can see, I am not alone. I have an amazing guest. She goes by the name of Sudduf Wyne. What's going on? Assalamu alaikum, Sudduf.
Alaikum salam. I love that intro. I almost wanted to close my eyes and meditate on it. It's so good.
I appreciate that. What about it resonated with you?
I felt like it was an affirmation. I feel more confident already.
Well, selfishly, I say it to pump myself up. So I say it even when I'm by myself on solo episodes. So it's like a trigger for me, a positive trigger. So I appreciate that.
I'll adopt that.
For the folks out there who don't know who you are yet, do you mind if I introduce you via your bio?
Go for it.
Sudduf Wyne runs the Intentional Membership. She stands confidently in her faith and leads intentionally and passionately. Sudduf weaves her spiritual-fueled business approach into the lives of entrepreneurs struggling to gain clarity and purpose in their business. Living spiritually, building community, growing purposefully, these are her pillars. Sudduf's magic has been affirmed and celebrated by many sources, the Globe and Mail, the Toronto Star, and the Canadian House of Commons, to name but a few. I'm going to pause, add my own commentary in here. Y'all, you got to check this out. This Canadian House of Commons picture for my American friends, like you're on the picture of the Senate, and you see like the bird's eye view of the Senate. Picture someone being like, yes, Senator. And then that person being like, hey, you want to know who's a really awesome entrepreneur? This person. That's what happened. I watched it a bunch of times. It was super cool. Okay, time in. Back to the official bio. Her circle are grateful for her dedication, drive, passionate presence, and unwavering commitment to up-level the Muslim business community. Y'all, we have Sudduf in the house. That was fantastic. What a bio.
Alhamdulillah. Honestly, I listen to it and I think how grateful am I to be able to do those things and to be able to support our community, and just extremely grateful.
I love that. The bio can only say so much. So we love to start off with a prompt. If you really knew me, you'd know that.
Wow. Whoa. I wasn't expecting to start off with that. If you really knew me, you'd know that my room is actually a mess right now. And although I'm very high functioning when it comes to running my business and business ownership, I'm just like you in most other ways. I don't want to clean my room. I don't like washing the dishes. I'm basically bad at chores. So not everyone is good at everything. We all have our strengths and weaknesses, guys.
I love that. I want to jump back to earlier, is that when I read people's bios, or I listen to a lot of podcasts, when people's bios are read to them, there's always this kind of reaction, sometimes performatory, where it's like, I can't believe that's me. Almost like a shrinking of oneself. And I loved how you didn't do that. You went to, I'm grateful. Not that that's not me. I can't believe that's me. And I'm not mocking people who do that. But I found that so amazing. Do you mind kind of unpacking that with me? What was that, an intentional choice? I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think immediately what comes to mind is because I've gone through life kind of seeing I have shrunk in certain situations, just being someone who recently started wearing the hijab, recently saying 7 years ago, and looking different and being different. I'm so used to just automatically shrinking in spaces where I don't feel comfortable. Whereas right here, to hear you go through my bio and remind me of wait a second, you have things to be proud of, you should be proud of these and really own it. I think that's kind of what happened there, but it's not the same in every situation, because there's definitely like if this was a different setting, if I didn't feel as comfortable, maybe if you weren't Muslim, to be honest, like maybe I wouldn't feel as comfortable about those things being said. I might have something else in my head go, but you only got those things because of the fact that you're like the diversity card, or, you know, maybe she's only interviewing you because or he's only interviewing you because you look different, or I don't know. Whereas here and in Muslim Faces, I do feel I can step into who I am for the sake of inspiring others.
So maybe like when you feel seen.
Add to that is there's this balance of being humble, but also stepping into and owning your God-given purpose that a lot of women, especially in my position, struggle with, because being humble is part of the characteristics we should have as Muslims, but being confident in your God-given abilities and using them to benefit communities is also part of our religion. So it's having this sort of balance. So while I am proud of those achievements, I respond more with gratitude versus like, what, I'm amazing, right? So, and that's something I'm working on too, because that's not what we're necessarily being taught these days. There's a lot of this culture of me first and you do you, boo-boo, and all of that. So yeah, I'm really trying to step into one of my values, which is gratitude. Everything is gratitude. And if you approach it with gratitude and you respond with gratitude, you can't go wrong.
What does gratitude mean for you?
It means being thankful for what God has given you, what God hasn't given you, experiences in your life. And not just thankful, but like content is one level and then thankful is another level. I have this like sticky note on top of my computer screen that says no bad days. And I think that really is what gratitude is to me, is no bad days. Not belittling having a bad day. And obviously that's a real thing. Just seeing the silver lining in everything, because God has a plan. God has a plan for you. You might hate it today. You might love it tomorrow. You don't know.
You know, one thing that comes to mind with me around gratitude, because I'm all about the gratitude as well, is though also how gratitude can sometimes be used, especially by those with power and privilege, to like silence, right? Like you should be grateful. Like don't talk about these things. Let's good vibes only. And for those who might not know, you talk about real stuff too. So for you, I like this so far, this theme of balance, right? This feels very Muslim. Where balance is so infused. The balance that you have of like, I'm grateful and I'm going to talk about some real stuff. How do those live together for you?
Can you kind of clarify a little bit?
Yes. Do you mind if I clarify by asking a question?
Yeah.
What is it? What does it sound like I'm saying?
It sounds like you're saying give me an example of a situation where you've had to kind of, I'm blanking.
I got you. Perfect. No, that helps. Okay, let me start on my end. So I know that there's a lot of times when you see like the Instagram gratitude culture. Let's just put it that way. It's like, it's white. It's like, I'm in a penthouse. Look at me. It's materialistic. It's, we should all get along. It's, why are you so mad? So there's like that, right? And then at the same time, when we're saying gratitude, I'm kind of bringing to the surface. I want to add dimension for folks who don't know who Sudduf is, that Sudduf also is activating for Black Lives Matter and Palestine and all these other things, and you're grateful. So like, what is this new image of gratitude then that's not that, but is also, I'm an activist, I'm an entrepreneur, I talk about real stuff, and there's no bad days, even though I know these horrible things are happening. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Okay, that gives me a lot of clarity, because I'm definitely not one of those like good vibes only and be grateful for living in Canada despite like all the other horrors, which somebody actually said to me. I think it comes from a spirit. Definitely, like when I talk about gratitude, it comes from a spiritual place and me trying to be better aligned and closer to my creator. And for like, there are people who are oppressed in this world. There are people who are given not as many privileges in life, like simply because of the color of their skin. And like me as a Pakistani woman who was born and raised in Canada and I have white skin, like I am saved from racism from my own community. And I don't face as much racism in the, a community that I live in the Greater Toronto area as someone who is potentially a Black Muslim woman who wears a hijab. So I definitely am not saying like, be grateful that you're only getting racial slurs versus like being whatever. That's not what it is. It's knowing that God has a plan for all of us and that all of the hardships we face, those aren't going unnoticed, whether we share it on social media or not. Like God has a tally. There's angels who are taking a tally and you are going to be rewarded for all of the hardships that you face. I look at the gratitude as a way to balance your mental health almost and balance this life, this like worldly life that we're living, which is not supposed to be easy, but is admittedly very much easier for some, even me included, than others. So yeah, gratitude is almost like an akhira focus. So like focusing on the afterlife, which I do believe in. This is really deep because I do come from a place of privilege for sure. I do come from a place of privilege, whether it's just like, it's my skin color for sure, like socioeconomic status and whatever, these other things. So I just want everyone to know that when I talk about no bad days, it comes from a place of privilege, but it also comes from a place of someone who does suffer from depression and anxiety. I definitely realize that what I'm going through, although not to compare or anything like that, it is easier. Like it is easier. Like I have access to certain things that others don't. But I do try to be very intentional with my life in making sure one of my values is standing up for those who are oppressed, is standing up for those who have less than me. And when I say less than me too, that's the other thing is the people who are most beloved to God are not the ones who are wealthy. It's the ones who have less. So then I always look at it from that focus too, is like, I'm not really helping you. Like when I donate to charity, I'm not really helping you. I'm helping me. Like I'm helping me when I'm doing that. So like keeping that gratitude in mind too. I'm not sure if this answered the question, but I hope it kind of did.
No, I wanted to bring the nuance. You know what I mean? That you're real. And so I think it makes the gratitude more real. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't resonate with the gratitude, the good vibes only on Instagram. It is frustrating. Instagram is a highlight reel. And I really I think about a year ago, I really intentionally tried to not show even snippets of perfection in my life. Even yesterday, I showed the mess in my room that I just told you guys about, because we do get caught up in it. We get caught up in people's seemingly perfect lives. And some people do have that. So I just want everyone to know that, yeah, we are all struggling. My struggles are not anything compared to others, but also we don't need to compare. Like we're all striving on this path towards God, towards something bigger. And yeah, it is. That's what it is. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you for getting deep right out the gate. It's helpful. And I think it's validating, and maybe even if I can say this, healing. I know for myself and for those listening that we bring this nuance to buzzwords like gratitude, because it gives it more meaning and I feel like decommercializes it. You know what I mean? Like puts it back in our hands. So I appreciate going on this journey with me. Did you know right out the gate, middle school, Sudduf, I'm going to be an entrepreneur? Was that did you have that ambition right away?
So I'll tell you a story that I've shared with some people. It's from I want to say grade 4, because that's when I switched schools. So in grade 4, I started I was very crafty, creative. There was a show called Art Attack with Neil Buchanan. Like I watched it every day, so I remember the host. But my friend Natalie and I would make these toothpick dolls. So it was like 2 toothpicks, and then we would put embroidery floss around it. And it was like very cute and tiny. I should probably make them for my kids, but we decided to sell them. They were so cute. And people in our class were like, oh, these are cute. We want to buy them. So we would take our stuff and sell them for like $2, maybe $3. And then we collected all this money, and I was so excited about it. And my mom said, like, you can't take money from people, like you can't spend that money. And I was like, but I made, like, Natalie and I made these dolls. And she was like, no, you can't keep that money. And she said, you can donate it to charity, but like, you can't keep that money. So that was kind of my first entrepreneurial venture. And also like my mom instilled that value of like, she didn't necessarily instill the value of like, you know, you can keep some and also give some away, but she just made me realize that like, oh, like the benefit is not in me making this money and buying like candy and toys. It's like, oh, I'm doing this so that I can help other people. So like, yeah, I had to give all the money away. Maybe I even gave it all to Natalie. I can't remember, but my mom just basically said, I can't keep any of the money. So that was like my first entrepreneurial venture. And I would say like, if I reflect back on like from grade 4, like what I did in my like, you know, younger years is like, yeah, I kind of knew that I wanted to be my own boss and do my own creative thing where I would get to come up with ideas and set a price and sell things, albeit it had nothing to do with making money because I thought I wasn't allowed. I thought I wasn't allowed to make money or keep money. I could definitely make it, but it had to be given away.
Well, I love this story because it brings up 2 now lines of questions that I have. Let's talk about this now. You brought up kind of like the money story, and I love how you're able to connect different parts of your life that created this money story. How has your money story evolved?
In some ways it hasn't. Like in some ways it hasn't evolved in terms of like the idea of, you know, not keeping a lot of the money. And I've actually never made this real type of connection before. The charity aspect I had connected to back that story, but in some parts it hasn't changed because the money that I bring in, it is priority to put that money back in the community. And again, I'm not putting it back in the community for others. Like this is, again, for me, feeling like I'm fulfilling a purpose for God. Like I'm doing this to get into heaven, guys. Like I need to rack up those points. So a lot of what I make, and I was just thinking this yesterday, like a lot of what I make is donated to charity. And again, this is like not me tooting my horn. This is more for me to benefit from, not them. And then hiring women of color, like hiring women, bringing them on the team, making sure that they are able to spread their wings and then also hire other women and kind of keep this cycle going. And I think my dad actually plays a big part in that money story too, because we grew up knowing that like, again, this is coming from a place of privilege, but like debt isn't an option. Credit cards aren't an option. So I think that kind of plays into it too, where I've also never taken such a big risk that I've had to rely on those sorts of sources. Obviously having the support of family is being in a place of privilege. The only kind of evolution of that money story would be is now I have a family to take care of, not entirely, I'm not entirely taking care of them. I have support from my spouse, but having bills to pay for my business, for myself, and certain things like that. But yeah, in many ways, it hasn't it hasn't changed.
When did you know coaching was going to be what you were going to build your business around?
After I had my triplets. So actually even before that. So when I got pregnant with triplets, it was a really tough year. I had depression, like very bad depression during the pregnancy. It's very high risk. I didn't know if any were going to make it or if only one was going to make it. It didn't help that doctors were telling us to reduce to just one baby. So it was a very difficult year. So when I had them, and alhamdulillah, mashallah, like completely free of any any health conditions. Like they're really miracles. Like all babies are miracles. And this was my reminder that God is in charge. So they were born, and at the time I was running a lifestyle boutique called Salam Shop. So it was in Mississauga. I had hired staff. I was hardly going in anymore, but the plaza was actually being shut down around the same time that I also couldn't keep up. So alhamdulillah, for God's plan, we closed down the shop. And after being full-time mommy to triplets for maybe only 3 months, where I was literally being told by friends and family that like, you need to have something for yourself. You need to be doing something for yourself, because I was like, postpartum depression was real, like just not in a good mindset. So it was really my friend Lindsay from Lindsay and Co. She really encouraged me to just start mommy blogging. She's like, just start blogging. I'll set up a website for you. Start talking about your experience. You're in a unique position. You already have all these people who've followed your journey of entrepreneurship. So why don't you just start with that and set up your own time? Like maybe it's 1 hour per week, maybe it's 1 hour per day. So that's what I got into. And I realized after a couple of months that my strength wasn't in the sharing of motherhood at all. My strength was in connecting women and more of like talking about the businesses, like products that I was using, but really like reaching out to those businesses and being like, hey, you could really improve your brand message with this, or your Instagram, you should add this to your Instagram, or have you tried this business model? So I went from kind of vlogging to doing Instagram audits to finally feeling confident enough to like say, hey, what I'm actually doing is coaching people. Let me start doing this now. So that's like, it was a mindset and confidence thing. And that was what, like 3.5 years ago now, about then.
And how has it changed since then for the past 3.5 years? What are some of the milestones that it's gone through?
Wow. It's like drastically changed. When I started, I was doing more consulting, working one-on-one with clients, and not working with many people at all. And then realizing that if I wanted to make the impact and help as many people as possible, and all these people who were reaching out, I would have to have a different sort of business model. So I launched the membership, which was first called the Muslim Entrepreneur Association, and it was $40 a month to join. And I was over delivering on content, super stressed about like not giving enough value, like hired someone to help me. It was really, really tough, but still seeing like amazing results from the women who were part of it. And then I realized I had to, just like they were investing in themselves, I had to invest in myself so I could up-level my own business. So I started investing in a coach, sales and copywriting, branding. And then that's really another like milestone where everything changed, is when I invested in those three things. Then I went from having just this like mom and pop like coaching thing to like, if you want a coach who coaches Muslim women who are in product and service-based businesses, if you are in that category, Sudduf is your coach. She's the best coach to go to. And now our membership is amazing. We've got a course housed in the membership. It is now $200 a month. So I can deliver like epic value, and I like show up for my members. I am able to bring on such amazing people. I think yesterday I was looking at who's on my team, and we have someone from the UK, Pakistan, my newest hire, where is she? Argentina. Like, it's so amazing, like, who can come together when you have this dream. And yeah, I'm just feeling grateful now even talking about it. And our members are from all over the world. So I've really been really grateful for what I've created. And I think we passed the 100K mark in our first year of the membership, or maybe the second year. And now really I feel the sky's the limit. We have some new stuff coming, and yeah, just feeling really, 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 really grateful and excited, not just for me, but for what this means for all of the women I work with. Because when you see someone who looks like you succeeding and able to like smash these goals, it makes you excited because you know you can do it too. And I haven't seen so many in this position, and I'm happy to like be that person for some folks. So yeah, it makes me excited, not just for me, but for others too.
So you had talked about, and thank you for sharing your story with us and agreeing with so many of the things you said. So many questions. So I'm like trying to contain my excitement and questions. Like, which direction do I go in? So many things I want to ask. Let's start here. A lot of folks probably are relating to over delivering, underselling. I give the world, I charge as little as I can. Can you go through some of the fears, some of the possible insecurities that maybe are kind of underneath that philosophy?
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. Like, one of the fears and insecurities is that I'm not white. I'm not a white coach. And in the coaching industry, you don't see anyone like me. And I used to have this line even on my website, and I would say it all the time, that I'm going to be the next Jenna Kutcher. And Jenna's great. Like, she's great. But like, I'm not going to be the next Jenna Kutcher. Like, I'm going to be the first Sudduf Wyne. Like, I was really aspiring to be like a white coach. And then that would in turn make me insecure because I could never post pictures in a bikini or like say some of the things that she says, and definitely not do some of the things that she does. And I guess I would be lying if I said that I've overcome that. Like, I for sure am still working on that. And when I have reached out to, for example, I will not name her, but like a woman who is very popular in the coaching world, and she has a podcast and courses. And I do put myself out there. I have reached out saying like, hey, I haven't seen a Muslim woman on your podcast. This is what I do. Check out my website. I think your audience would love to hear from someone like me. And then when you get the response saying like, oh, okay, thanks for letting me know, we'll reach out if we're interested. And then you never hear from them. Like, yeah, that does set me back because it makes me think that maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe it's not because I look like this. Maybe it's because I just don't have enough skills and I need to have more skills. And who do I think I am? Like, even charging this amount, it like trickles down into that when like, I don't have photos like they do, or I don't have access to the tech they do. And it just is a never ending sort of like game that can go on in your head. Ironically, what helped dig myself out of that was what I mentioned before, was the investing in branding and coaching and copywriting, which were two white women who I was working with, one of which who I'm still working with right now. So there are allies definitely out there who see you and hear you. They may not understand 100%, but it's not to say that I don't invest in white people anymore. I definitely do weigh out my options more carefully, but it was an ally who kind of helped me see my worth. And even still, actually, I'm working with one, and she made me raise my membership price. So sometimes it's when someone else is telling you. And I tell my members all the time, like pretty much guaranteed 100% of the time, whatever they tell me they're charging, the first thing I say is like, you need to charge more if you want this to be sustainable, because you can't keep delivering these amazing results for $40 an hour. It is something that maybe you only really understand when you have all these factors kind of at play, like being a woman of color, being a visible Muslim, and whatever else. Although it is a common thread amongst entrepreneurs, this just kind of adds more layers to it. It's harder to climb out of.
This is such a gift you're giving us. I appreciate that this is where you shared, because for me, it's like all of the things, insecurities I have when I raise my price, this. I'm assuming, I could be wrong, that you have, probably we share those in common. And then this. And I think it's go ahead, you're going to say something.
I was going to say, and it's not all hypothetical either. Like, I have been told by people in my community that nobody Muslim is going to pay that price for you. Or like, why would anyone pay you that when they can just go hire this other person who's white? And this is like within my community. This isn't even outside. So when you hear it from people in your own community, it weighs down on you. And sometimes it's friends and family. And I hear this from my members too. Like, sometimes it's their friends and family, so then they can't share with them. And it's because we've been bogged down by like basically everything we've seen around us, like colonialism, all of that. And we think that we can't charge the same as a white person. So it isn't just something in my head. This is real. We are told this on like a regular basis. Like, even in my Instagram DMs, like I'll get an Instagram DM, even from someone who like looks like me, is Muslim, wears a hijab, who will say like, you're way too expensive. And maybe what she meant was like, I can't afford this, or, you know, this is really expensive for me. But because of what I've been through, I take it as like, she would probably pay this for a white person. And because I'm brown, I'm not worth it. And all these things come to play.
I really appreciate you having this conversation. You know, one question that came up for me early on, and I was like, will I have time to ask this? Will I be able to ask this? And it seems like let's try to go for it now, is that I'm assuming that there is, I don't know if the word, okay, let's use the word pressure, like pressure from the non-Muslim coaching industry, like conform, be like this, fit into this model. And then I'm also, these are assumptions, assuming from the Muslim community, it's like, okay, well, if you're going to be like a Muslim coach, here's the model, conform, be like this, but you've like found your own lane. Am I like way off on this?
No, that's correct. And it's still pressure though. Like, it's still definitely a challenge. And the way I found my own lane and been confident in it is a combination of, I think, my age, because I'm older. I'm like, how old am I? I'm 36. I believe I'm 36. And because I am really, really striving hard to gain knowledge in Islam. So I take courses every semester, like every couple of months, that remind me of my purpose. So that makes it easier for me to not post, you know, bougie photographs when I'm going on like a fancy trip. That prevents me from doing that. It reminds me that like, this is not who you are. You don't have to fall into this trap. It also prevents me from being too judgmental or being judgmental about my Islam, about my appearance, my Islamic appearance, and those sorts of things. That is also coming. It's both. Like, it's hard to find that path. And I think like age and knowledge definitely helps. I wouldn't say I think it's a journey. I wouldn't say it's something that's just like, you know, I'm here and I'm going to stay here. It is like a very challenging journey to stay on. Last year I shared a story. It was last year during COVID, where I talked about why I don't wear makeup anymore. And by the way, I think there's a filter on this Zoom, which is making me my skin look like it has foundation, but I'm not wearing any. And that was really tough for me, because the coaching industry is not only like beautiful white people with perfect bodies and homes. It's also like the women are like, obviously like they're wearing makeup and they look good. And it's just sort of something that attracts you to them. And it's a conversation piece, and it's just very normal. So I posted about it and I talked about it, and there was people celebrating it, but then people also kind of defending it. And of course, like, you know, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. And I felt like maybe that was going to hinder my growth. But what I realized was when you do something for the sake of God, like, it's just not going to happen. Like, it's not, he's always going to support that. And he's always going to put blessings in that journey. But that, just announcing it and sharing it with my followers and my members also keeps me accountable to it. So there's like these little things where, yeah, like, it's hard not to conform, but if you want to stand in your truth, like, I definitely recommend like sharing your values, sharing those truths, because hopefully you've got at least a couple folks who will be like, hey, wait a second, like, you're wearing like fake lashes, and like, didn't you say you don't do that? And like, I'm all for that. I do get messages sometimes saying like, oh, hey, like, you shared this and this company supports Israel. And then I'll be like, oh, thanks for letting me know. I'm not going to say like, don't talk to me like that. Or even if someone messages me sometimes, because like my arms, sometimes I don't cover them fully. If someone messages me saying like, oh, hey, like, your arms are showing, if they're saying it from a place of like, we want to protect you and we love you, I'll say like, I really appreciate that. And I'm struggling because it's so hot. So I think it is important to share your values and what you stand for with others, because it helps you stay on that path, like that middle path that you've created for yourself, because you will teeter off of it. And if you don't have people either in your support circle or people who are your clients who will kind of remind you of that, it's very easy to fall into different paths.
This reminds me of something I heard yesterday from Glennon Doyle. So Glennon Doyle was sharing how in her book she has a quote that's quoted everywhere, and it's, "The braver I am, the luckier I get." And she's like, everybody quotes it. And she was saying how she wishes she could go back and rewrite it and say that there's so much privilege in that, because for her Black activist friends, she was sharing, the braver they are, usually the less spaces they're included in. Like, you come to a conference, you speak the truth, and they're like, not inviting you back. And I see you shaking your head, so I thought you might resonate with that.
I'm resonating in terms of like, yeah, I can see where I've been to events where Black people have been themselves and they are looked at like the others and they're not invited to things. Yeah, for sure. I see it in that way. That quote, like the way I look at that quote is almost like risk. Like, does she mean like the braver you are, the more risks you take, the more luckier you have? Because obviously like entrepreneurship is like risk taking. And yeah, I do take a ton of risks. And that's why I feel like I get where I am today. But the thing is, like, I'm only able to take those risks because if something really bad were to happen, like my husband's going to take care of us, or like my mom and dad are going to take care of me. So is it even a risk? So it's not equal setting, like it's not equal footing. So I get what she's saying. It is definitely a place of privilege. In terms of like when you speak your truth and people not wanting you there, like, yeah, that's happened to me a lot in the past couple of months with Palestine, where folks who I thought we were allies of one another, yeah, it was clear that once I spoke about the Palestinians and standing up for people who are oppressed and simply explaining, like, it is wrong to kill children. I don't care. Like, I don't care. Like, if you're confused or if this is complicated, this is wrong. And we need you to be allies. Like, we need your help in this. And having people say, like, actually, no, we don't want to talk about this. And then them disappearing from my life. Like, yeah, that's kind of similar to, I guess, that feeling of like, oh, wait, they only wanted me around because I look different, not because of what's coming out of my mouth, because of like what I look like and not what I have to say in my opinion, which sucks. And it's hurtful and I'm not completely over it. Yet I would be lying if I said I was completely over it.
Just if can I co-sign some things he said for a minute? For folks who might not be as familiar with the coaching industry, this is kind of like, it's super white. Usually what happens is you'll have like a coach who maybe, let's say, has like a $15,000 certification program. 90% of the people will be women. And I would say, I don't know, I could be wrong. Let's say 40% will be women of color. And through the whole weekend event, the person will only have other white guys as the featured speaker. So it's like this continual message of, I'm going to teach you how to make money doing what I do, but I will never, ever, ever, ever pay you to be one of in my circle. And you get all the time these like big, here we go, this big team, we're going to do this big promotion. And it's always like 3 or 4 white guys teaming up. And then last year, everybody was like, because it became commercially important for them. We even saw Amazon saying Black Lives Matter. We also saw in the coaching industry, and a lot of women of color got messages like, will you come on my show and basically co-sign that I'm not racist? And so everybody was like, to the point of like overwhelmingly reached out to like, get on my show. Let me extract from your labor. And now 1 year later, it's like crickets. All the podcasts are back to just white guys. Everybody's inboxes aren't, asking to come on my show. And we're kind of like left in this year later, proving that it was really just exploitation, not actually wanting to create a change. Would you say that's some good summary?
Yeah. And the ones who are like the ones who are still trying to include Black people and amplifying their message, their work kind of is stopping there. Like they're not realizing that, like, wait a second, we can't just be inclusive of like Black people, because being inclusive means like be also including people from other faiths and backgrounds. And I know they're not doing the work when I reach out to them and say, hey, I noticed you don't have any visible Muslims on your speaker lineup, or I noticed you always launch your course in Ramadan. Like, it makes no sense for Muslim people. And there's like, at least 10% of the people who sign up are Muslim. And when they respond saying like, oh, that's interesting, we'll take that into account. And then that's all. Like, I know you're not doing the work. And I've even was this December of last year where another coach who I had invested in, he's a white man, Canadian. I reached out to him saying like, I was just not cool with some of his sales practices. Like he would basically sell us like something very expensive. And then when we joined the program to like complete the program, we had to buy even more stuff. And it was like very sketchy. So that was what I originally reached out to him for. And then it also became sort of like, well, I was really bullied in this group that we're in, and as a visible Muslim woman, and I didn't have any support from anyone, and I got reprimanded. And I could see from that response, like he didn't care, and he only cared when I left the group. And then he kept reaching out to me. And to me, that's like, you're not doing the work. Like, it's not just what other people see on the outside. It's also the inner workings. Like, people who are invested in programs, like you can see if they actually care or not, or if it's performative. And not everyone's ready to put themselves out there and even accept that, like, hey, I think this guy is racist. Like, I think he's anti-Muslim. A lot of people will just say, no, like, that's not what it is. Like, even when you share with friends and family, they're like, no, you're overthinking it. Now it's not like, I don't even have to ask anyone. It's like, I know in my heart. And like, of course, as a Muslim, I'm looking at the bright side and I make 70 excuses for people. But your gut, like that little feeling, like that is God. That is God. Like, he's telling you. So just go with it. When people say like, oh, it's not like, she didn't look at you that way because you're wearing a hijab, or like they didn't say no tables are available because you're Muslim. Like, just don't even go there. Just accept, like, that's probably what it was. And how I'm going to empower myself is by, I'm not going to go to that place anymore. I'm not going to invest in this coach anymore. And maybe I'll use my voice to speak out against this. You do have to have some sort of outlet. So, yeah.
Instead, especially if you're looking for a coach, y'all should hit up Sudduf. How would you say that your space is different? Because you have in your bio a couple of times, and you've used the word here, intention. So what are some of the intentions that in a really magical way, intentional way, infuse your programs?
That's a great question. So we rebranded the membership to Intention. So we had an in-your-face reminder that whatever effort you put in and whatever outcome you receive, while important, it doesn't matter to God. Like, to God, what matters is your intention for taking that action. So we set intentions for everything. With the membership, my intention is for Muslim women to run their business as part of their journey to God. So you're not just selling a coffee mug, you are selling an experience to a Muslim woman where she can sip her coffee and then fulfill her God-given duties, whether that's motherhood, running her business, whatever. Like, everything has to have an intention that has at least one God focus. So of course your intention can be to make $10,000, but that intention has to be layered with an intention for God. And it is life-changing. It is absolutely life-changing. And of course it is. Like, it's part of our religion, but it's just not something people focus on when it comes to business. And the way it really showcases itself in our group is because I have layers of intention to what this business is meant for. It just, like, it's almost like magically, like, that's the result we receive. Like, that's what happens. So I've had women in the group say this is the first time they felt seen and heard. A lot of the sentiment is, I can't put my finger on it, but there's something about this group that we're meeting in, and there's something about this experience that is different from what I've experienced before. And I hear that a lot. It's like, I can't put a word to it. I don't know what it is. And like, I know what it is. And I tell them, it's when you meet for the sake of God, there's angels in your presence. Like, they're angels. Like, the thing that you can't put your finger on is, before, maybe when you were working on your business, it was literally like you trucking through this to-do list. But now you're doing this work with angels surrounding you, because all of a sudden your intention is to please God. It's not just to make money or reach a goal or, make $100,000. It's for God. And there's so much blessings in that. So that's kind of, I think, what makes our space special. We're absolutely, like, anti-racist in the group. We don't let anyone in. I think it's even in our FAQs is like, just get out of here. If you're not an anti-racist, just go. We do have non-Muslim members as well. So it's a space that's, like, really cool. It's a really, really cool space. And in the entrepreneurial world, especially when it comes to what you see online, it's very competitive, and it's the type of, industry where I wouldn't tell you how to get clients if you're in the same, niche as me, or like, I'm not going to tell you how to use Calendly, like, figure it out yourself. Like, I paid to figure this out. Whereas in the membership, because our intention is to please our creator, like, that's what we're all about. It's like, oh, hey, I just set up Acuity. Does anyone need help? Or someone saying, like, where do you go for your supplier for this? And like, someone saying, like, oh, this is the supplier I use. So it's very collaborative. And it's not collaborative because it's nice or you feel good. It's because you have a God focus. Like, your focus is on God, and you know that if there's that feeling inside of you that doesn't want to share, and you do, you get even more blessings for it. So it's a beautiful space. And the women in there are just amazing. I can't even believe I get to coach these women. My hope is for them to get to a place where they will eventually become coaches. And I haven't shared this with them. Sometimes I drop it, but I'm like, my hope is that you get to a place where you feel confident in coaching other women, because I want it to be this sort of cycle and a ripple effect where it's not just me doing this work. And if you're Muslim, you know that the OG businesswoman is Khadija radiallahu anha. And I don't think it's a coincidence at all that the first Muslim and the first Muslim woman was a businesswoman, like a very rich, charitable businesswoman. So that's kind of our inspiration. So if anyone relates to that, I would welcome you into our space with open arms.
So it's your legacy. You're continuing a beautiful legacy.
Absolutely. That's the intention.
Inshallah. So let's oh my gosh, this is what I hate when it comes to an end. So let me ask two quick questions and then we'll wrap up and hopefully do a part two sometime in the future. I'm going to ask you a stop and start question. What is something every entrepreneur right now should stop doing that's like not helping? You're like, it's a lot of energy, a lot of resources, bad advice that you've been given. Stop doing what? Or rethink, or however you want to interpret that.
Stop undercharging. Stop underpricing and undercharging. Like if you're listening to this right now, if you're in the service industry, like just right now, increase your rate by 50 or $100, like right now. And if you're product based, like, I don't know, it's harder to determine for product based, but like literally today, just increase your price.
Can I add on something? I was listening to Rachel Rogers' book, We Should All Be Millionaires. And she was like, whatever you are, double your price right now. And I was like, no, I can't. It's like, fine. So I did, pitched everybody that week. They were like, yeah, that price makes sense. So
I'm actually the last person who I got the advice from was I went to a Rachel Rogers webinar and she said that and I did it and nobody even noticed. Like nobody even noticed. Like, oh, alhamdulillah.
She's the best, right?
Yeah, she's great.
Okay, that was the start. What should they start doing?
They should start being more intentional. So start setting a bigger intention for what you're doing. And I gave a couple of examples already, but even if it's like, okay, today I'm going to tackle my to-do list, write an intention, like write it down. My intention for tackling this to-do list is so that I can provide for my family. And it doesn't have to be related to the to-do list. So I can make $10,000, so I can learn Arabic. Like just write an intention, start being more intentional.
Okay, I'm going to do it. Two clarifying questions on that. Okay, so then is being intentional just like thinking about my why before I go do the thing?
A lot of it is thinking about your why. And I guess the added layer for people who do believe in a creator, or even if it's the universe, is having an intention for the sake of God, or I guess for the universe, if you're non-Muslim or if you don't believe in a creator. Having that layer to it, I didn't want to overcomplicate it, but yeah. So that's why I mentioned the Arabic thing. So that would be an intention for your creator, because learning Arabic is the language of the Quran. So yeah, that would be an addition.
This is my Oprah. Aha, you gave me an aha. I'm going to credit you from now on. So I'm hearing like lowercase I intentional is like my why. Uppercase intentional is my greater than myself why.
Ooh, yes. Yes. Okay, I'm writing this down too.
That was you. I got that from you. I'm crediting you every time I bring it up from now on.
I love that. Yeah. The lowercase I is like your why. It kind of rhymes. And the uppercase I is outside of yourself. It's bigger than you. Wow. Love it.
That was fun. Okay, Sudduf, where can folks get at you if they want to learn more about your program? They want to follow you on IG, which I highly recommend. Where can they do all of that?
You can find me on Instagram at Salam Sudduf. Salam means peace, and my shop that I used to own was called Salam Shop, so I kept that. I love using Instagram, so you can really get to know me there. Send me a DM if you're watching this, by the way, or listening to this, because I'd love to connect with you. And you can also check out my website. It is www.salamsudduf.com.
And we will have all of that in the show notes for all of y'all who are on the go. And highly recommend, honestly, Sudduf's Instagram, amazing, amazing, amazing. And I've even seen that you've shared in your stories where people have reached out to you and said, especially around Palestine, like, I get it now. And not just that business. So you will get aha moments in your scrolling that already. And if then you want to take it to the next level, Sudduf's program's absolutely amazing. I interview lots of coaches, and there are some folks where I'm like, this is going to need some work. Sudduf's is right there. And like she was saying, we underestimate, and this is, I'm trying not to white explain on this one, but let me say it anyways. We underestimate that pressure of not being seen in a coaching program is having a greater impact than we're naming. And you really will finally realize it when it's not there. It's like, wow, not only do I not have the added pressure of not being seen, but I get the value of being seen. You're not going to have to explain to Sudduf things like, well, this is like already shared language. Boom. You can just go right into it. So I highly recommend y'all go check it out. Sudduf, this has been amazing. This was a year in the making. I think we connected about a year ago. We're like, no, my kids do this. I'm like, no, she's doing this. So it's like, we finally made it happen. And this is Allah knows best. This is the perfect time for this to happen. So I'm so grateful to you. I pray Allah continues to guide you, bless you, protect you, you and your family, your business, everyone you touch. So thank you for this, Sudduf. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I had so much fun.
Wow, Yakam, it's been my pleasure. And we like to close as our closing ritual is for you to share an invitation with those who are listening. So what would you like to invite them to do, to be, to consider, to think about, to evolve into? What is your invitation?
Whoa. My invitation would be for all of you who are listening. You've heard me like a broken record talk about intention, and then we talked about layering it. Would be for you to grab a pen right now or like your notes on your phone and write an intention for the next action you were about to take. I don't care if it's like eating lunch or something. Write an intention with the lower I, so the Y, and then the large uppercase I, which is something bigger than yourself. So a God focus or some bigger focus. So that is my invitation for you, because I swear to God, once you start doing this regularly, you set intentions for everything and you just see the magic in your life.
I love that. What a powerful invitation. Thank you once again, Sudduf. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
And to all of those who are listening, as always, we're wishing you peace and blessings. Thank you. One more thing. I'd love to continue the conversation. Feel free to join me at tomearl.com/join. Subscribe below, or let's connect on social media. Tom Earl Artist. Thanks again for watching.